Guys, are you ready for the ultimate showdown this weekend at UFC 298? Join me in the action by leaving your picks for the fights in the comments below. I have teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook, and right now, new customers get a no-sweat bet. You can get a bonus bet back in the amount of your original bet if your pick doesn't hit. Minimum deposit $5. Sign up using my promo code Sonnen. And DraftKings has something for existing customers as well. All customers get SGP insurance every day. Get a bonus bet back if one leg of your SGP bet loses. Minimum number of legs required and max bet vary. And if sports betting is not yet available in your state, do not worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy. New customers, use my promo code Sonnen and you get a no sweat bet. So click on the link below and download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Khamat Chimaev opposite Leon Edwards, UFC 300 World Championship. Now, this was yesterday's news, and this got reported by Ariel, but the kids all picked it up and ran with it. And make sure that you understand, Ariel did not announce this fight is going to happen. What Ariel said is, as of right this moment, which has been a hot potato, but at this moment, that is the fight that is being pursued. Okay, now, Ariel would not have said it had Ariel not been very comfortable that it was right. Ariel would not have only heard it, he would have confirmed it and reconfirmed it before it ever came out of his mouth. Now, that would be at a minimum. At a minimum, Ariel would have heard it, he would have confirmed it and reconfirmed it. He would have got it from both sides before he ever revealed it, and that's at a minimum. So let's just take Ariel at his word. Let's say that that was accurate information. We can gather a lot from that. Fight announcements, I always hear them differently than other people hear them. Like when I hear that Henry versus Merab are going to fight each other, I now know Merab is not going to be fighting for the belt. That Sugar Sean is going to have a different opponent, just by example. This is how my ears hear them. So let's take a look at what we've learned. If the Ultimate Fighting Championship pursued Khamzat Chimaev for UFC 300 taking place in Las Vegas, Nevada, we now know that Chimaev does not have a travel restriction. Right? We now know that. And Chimaev went on to say, when he responded to this, so Chimaev heard the rumor, it was everywhere, right? It came from Ariel, it was everywhere. Chimaev just said, look, I'm not going to take the fight because I'm not going to compete during Ramadan. But he went on to say that he would like to fight in Saudi Arabia. And there is a UFC card that is coming up in Saudi Arabia. But I'm isolating that statement because I have heard people pick apart Chimaev's statement to say, see, look, he has the travel ban. He can only fight in the Middle East. You're hearing that wrong. He has said that this is where he would like to fight. But the fact that the organization offered him a fight, that's the message that should let you know, hey, we can get you around. Now, even if his passport isn't stamped that way now, if the organization made the call, that means that they can get that done at a minimum. I'm just sharing that because that's really great news. It'd be very hard to put any kind of plans around a person who can't get around. It's just been very difficult to do. I can beat anybody and I will fight anybody. If they have to come to my house, we don't do fights at your house. So we might as well just exclude you from the conversation, right? See where that's important? Now, Abu Dhabi. Most respected grappling event in the world. Most respected submission grappling event in the history of the world. I would put the Olympic Games, pure wrestling, in front of it. I suppose you could even have a debate there. Now, they have a bracket called the Absolute, and it's invite only. They will assess you, look at you, and you will be invited, regardless of weight class, to participate in that. Vinny Magalhaes was in the Absolute bracket, a hard spot to get, and he got hurt. He wasn't going to be able to do it. So when he went up to inform organizers that he was not going to be able to use that spot in the bracket, appreciate the invite, can't do it, he took me with him so that he could instantly say to them, but he will. Now, they have the opportunity instantly to turn me down, of course. It's not as though Vinny had the power to substitute us. But Vinny, when he said no, made a suggestion that would be very helpful at a time when you find out you're going to need an athlete. And I only bring that because when Chimaev comes out and says no, it's surprising to me. I can't believe it. I couldn't imagine a top billing, a main event, a pay-per-view, or a world title fight. I just couldn't personally imagine saying no to that. And Chimaev has made it very clear, anyone, anywhere, anytime, I will smash them all. And anyone, anywhere, anytime is great stuff. You can usually find somebody. You can usually find a place and a time. It's very hard to come up on a world title fight. I mean, it is very hard. We will never have a person that is remembered, that will be esteemed. Never. When their career is done, if they didn't win the championship. We've had some great guys. I'm not sure Chimaev, I'm not sure Rakhmonov. I mean, these guys are completely undefeated, unbeaten, beaten world champions, got the resume. I'm not convinced that if their careers ended right now, that we'd be talking about them next week. There's just something about it. You got to have that championship. There's just something about that. It's coveted. It's so important. And if you're anyone, anywhere, anytime, and you're turning down championships, all of a sudden we don't get to be anyone, anywhere, anytime anymore. So, what do you do? If the guy's the number one contender, and I do believe Chimaev is, I watched him win the contest, and you offer him the title fight that you told him you would offer, but you did it at a weight class that he wasn't expecting. Like, are you even? Has my debt been paid to you? And of all the things that Chimaev would turn that fight down for, of which, of course, the weight class, we would all understand that. Anyone, anywhere, anytime, and then you put some caveat on there that makes it silly, such as a weight class that he doesn't even compete in. We would get those things, but he never mentioned it. He never said it has to do with the weight class. Like, for example, he said, I'd like to fight in Saudi Arabia. Okay, great. Well, would you fight Leon for the title in Saudi Arabia? I mean, that's not being offered to you at all. But if that's the one and only holdup is the location, can we keep the rest of it true? Could you get to 170? Would you get to 170? I'm only sharing that I have to ask these questions and give you the example of the way Vinny did it. And by the way, just so you know how the story ends, I got the spot in the bracket. Our plan worked. What would have happened if Chimaev did that? And I don't know who his boys are. I don't know who runs around in that crew, but I would imagine he's got some pretty big names with him. What if Chimaev got that call? He had the ear of the decision maker right there, said no, but, and then gave him an answer of who would do it. No, but. I already spoke to fill in the blank. It feels as though it would have been different, or even if it was no and you didn't pass it, but you let him know what you would do. No, but I will take the fight in June in Saudi Arabia. You'd at least have given them and presented and planted a seed that might be nourished and it might not. But no is not overly helpful. I follow politics closely. My least favorite politician is the complainer. The complainer that only says that somebody else is trying to do something, somebody else worked on it, somebody else has a bill and initiative, they bring it forward and you tell them no and you tell them all the problems with it. No's a fine answer, but how about a suggestion as to what would work? Instead of the complaints of all the things that would, I'm only suggesting for you. It seemed like a very missed opportunity. And if you do go to Chimaev, is he now a 170-pounder? I just have to remind you guys of the timeline. He was encouraged by the promotion, pick a lane. Chimaev had put them in a tough spot. I love the marketing. I loved the bouncing up and down. 1 week, one weight class, a different week, a different weight class. I loved it. I thought it was fun. But as he started to prove himself as a real commodity and a threat to the crown, he did need to pick a division so we can get your ranking and start building you towards that. And this is what he was instructed to do, and he did it. He did what it was suggested of him that he do, but then he got offered at a different weight class, the one that he was suggested to have left behind. So I'm just sharing with you that it's confusing all the way around. And we haven't heard from Leon. What if Leon accepted that? Then we haven't heard from Blahal. What are you going to do in that situation? Which, by the way, sounds like you've got an available Leon. You just need an opponent for him. It's a very confusing situation. Dana had suggested jokingly that a documentary and show could be made for what's going on behind the scenes. Oh, I wish he wasn't joking. That was the pilot pitch of a lifetime. I would love to see that show. It could be a 3-part series, but these guys that are turning fights down, I couldn't possibly imagine. I know Chimaev's not that kind of guy. I really don't want to give Chimaev a hard time. And if I follow the golden rule of put myself in his shoes, I'd have also had to have turned it down. I could not have built my body into a middleweight and then cannibalized my body in time for a welterweight opportunity that may never present itself again. I mean, it was a really hard spot. I think I would have understood, but it's not what was said. I have to go off of what was said. So it's hard. The game continues. I appreciate the game. I like it a lot. I think we can put to rest the idea that Chimaev can't travel. It sounds like he has made his preferences very well known, but if he was in fact offered the fight, and I think he was, I don't have proof of it, but I will stand with Ariel. And I know Ariel's reputation is big. And I know Ariel believes it to be true. So I believe it's true. And if it is, we can at a minimum put to rest the idea that Chimaev can't travel. Turns out he can, just turns out he doesn't want to.